What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about some of the things that people love the most about Norway. Today, we are going to hear from someone who actually moved to Norway all the way from Great Britain. And these are the things that have stuck out to her as the reasons why she loves living in Norway now. So, with that being said, let's take a look.
The first thing that I really love about living in Norway is the outdoor lifestyle. Or as the Norwegians say it, hold on, let me.
Huh?
Friluftsliv. Friluftsliv.
Yes. Friluftsliv. I remember this. I did a whole reaction video to this exact topic a little while ago. Norway actually has a word for it, friluftsliv. This is such a fantastic point. I feel like anyone who moves from certainly a country like the United States, or in her case, Great Britain, and moves to Norway is gonna notice a dramatic difference in the people's connection to nature. That's what friluftsliv is, right? Like Norwegians connecting with nature and really placing an importance on nature. Like, don't get me wrong, here in the United States, there are people here that like to go outside or go on a walk. We call them like outdoorsy people. There's people, Americans, who actually get up off the couch and enjoy being outside. But it is nothing even close to the connection that Norwegians have with nature. It feels like almost all Norwegians place importance on connecting with the outdoors and nature and getting outside. And that's a massive difference. She's exactly right about this.
So this just means open air or fresh air activities.
Uh-huh.
Basically, Norwegians really love their outdoor
Right.
lifestyles.
Right.
They really love being out in nature, hiking, cycling, whatever it be, and just being in their cabins. So it's a big part of their culture.
Yeah. And to be clear, there's Americans like who enjoy being outside. It's just nothing comparable to what it feels like Norwegians enjoy being outside. Which is a shame because I think in the United States we have a lot more mild climate, and it's really great for being outdoors, and the temperature is really nice most of the year, and yet maybe Americans don't really take advantage of that. Whereas in Norway, like Norway has like long, hard winters and storms, and Norwegians really appreciate being outside, even though the climate can be difficult sometimes. So that's really cool.
There is loads of green space here, even around the major cities. So Oslo actually is, I think, 70% green space.
Wow.
Which I'm not sure if that's the most in Europe. But yeah, there's just basically nature on your doorstep wherever you live, even in...
Oh, so in Norway, Norwegians like go out of your way to put trees and grass and plants in the cities and the towns so that it doesn't feel so artificial. I really like that. That would make day-to-day life a lot more pleasant, I think. Just having more natural looking stuff. Even if it's you who put it there, so it's kind of unnatural. But whatever, that doesn't matter. It's still a green.
in the capital. Bergen itself is actually surrounded by 7 mountains. So you could technically go hike a different mountain every single day if you wanted.
Wow.
I don't know if I would recommend that because some of the hikes are a bit hard. But you could do that. Basically, There's always just a lot of options for you to choose from. And it's really easy to be out in nature here. So it's something that I really love about Norway because I love being outdoors. I love being in nature. It makes me feel so much better. It makes my mental health much better.
Yeah. That's a big thing. Like, being out in nature is good for your mental health. Norwegians are like a lot happier than a lot of other countries, like America. And I think that has to do with Norwegians getting outside and like relaxing and connecting with the earth. that has to be good for your stress levels. And she also made another good point. In Norway, it just seems like there's a lot more nature, like mountains and places to hike and fjords and rivers and just beautiful nature in Norway everywhere. Whereas that's not really always the case, especially in the United States. You might be in a state or some city where it's just flat and there's nothing going on, and it's not that beautiful, frankly. The nature isn't that beautiful in a lot of areas of the United States. So that's just something that I think Norwegians really appreciate and really take advantage of how like beautiful the whole country of Norway actually is.
So yeah, I just really love it. It's just a huge privilege to have all of this on your doorstep.
Yeah.
And even in your own flat from the window, you will very often have a really beautiful view because of how beautiful the landscape here is.
Wow.
Actually, it was one of the first things that I fell in love with when I came to visit Norway for holidays. I remember we were driving to go ski in Voss with my friend, and it was about a 2-hour drive. And I remember being in the car, and the whole 2 hours almost, I was staring out the window just thinking how beautiful this country is and how much I want to live here.
That's so crazy. Like, the idea that you can drive 2 hours in Norway and just be captivated by the beauty and nature around you, that's really special. Like, Norway, geographically speaking, is a very special place.
So this one is really, really big one for me, just the outdoor lifestyle. Point number 2 is smaller communities or just smaller population in general. Norway has much less people in it than England. I think there is 5 million-ish people in the country compared to England's. I will put the number here because I'm not actually 100% sure what it is.
Okay, so she's saying the second thing she loves about Norway is the small population. I totally agree with that as well. I think when you get less people, it's more of a community sort of feel. And I know Norwegians, as like a culture and a community, Norwegians are like very respectful and nice and thoughtful to each other. But when you start getting 50 million people, like where she's from, Great Britain, 50 million. Here in the United States, it's like, it's over 300 million people here. So there's not that much sense of community. There's just a lot of people. A lot of people. So it's harder to sort of form that kind of national identity and bond. Whereas Norway is so small, even though it's accomplished so much, that I really feel like Norwegians have a tight-knit society and really strong culture and customs, which has a lot to do with having a small population that's created that. I think so.
It is. And this basically kind of plays a part in point 1 too, is that this means that there's way more green space because there isn't so many people to build houses for and to urbanize the areas. There is less pollution, and it's just here it's just so much more open space. It's less packed, less full. This means that
if I think about it, Norway, the country, Norway is a pretty big country. Like, it doesn't really come across that way on some of the world maps, but Norway is actually really big. And yet, it has a pretty small population, so there's just more nature. People are more spread out. There's probably lots of small towns and cities in Norway, and just a lot more smaller communities where people actually know each other. And like I said, with smaller communities, I think people have like a more respect for each other and are closer to each other. And that just is kind of the Norwegian national identity has become out of that.
There's just tighter communities, more green space, the homes are bigger, so it just feels like you have more space to breathe. And again, this isn't necessarily, a negative thing about England. It's just different. I wouldn't say I dislike England because of that. It's just a different lifestyle. I find that the fact that there's less people here makes it much more easygoing. People are almost much more carefree
Yeah.
and don't really feel like they're constantly in a rush. So it doesn't feel like London,
Yeah.
for example, where it just feels like people are kind of going places and going fast, and you're.
That's interesting. That's an interesting analysis as well. I think that's true. Especially in some of the big cities in America, there's just too much going on. There's so many people. It's kind of overwhelming. And you start comparing yourself to everyone and like you're falling behind and it's distracting and yeah, I can't really imagine exactly what it would be like living in a really smaller country or smaller area, but it just sounds nicer. It just sounds nice. Like that's how it was kind of meant to be, not to be like I don't know if humans were designed to be like 300 million in one place. You know, that's a lot of stimulus.
Or like rubbing up against people and being in their way. So yeah, that is much different. Like I said earlier, communities feel much tighter.
Yeah.
There is a custom here in Norway. It's called dugnad, and this is
Uh-huh.
basically communities and neighborhoods here in Norway.
Right.
If there is something that needs to be done in the community, like mowing the grass or maintenance of playgrounds, maintenance of maybe things like fences.
Dugnad. I've heard of Dugnad before. I learned about that. Like she said, it's like community work that you're supposed to take part in. That's a super like it's stuff like that. That's what makes Norwegian culture very special. And she's right. I think it is because of the small populations, smaller communities. People actually want to like interact with each other and take care of each other and take care of the community. When you live in some places in America where there's just millions of people, it's hard to think of it as yours or a community. You feel so small and insignificant, like you're not even really a part of it, so there's not as much of this volunteer community work idea going on here. I love that that's actually a normal thing in Norwegian society. That's great.
Everybody in the community chips in a little bit and helps out with all these things.
Yeah.
So there is, to me, a much stronger sense of community that I didn't really feel back home
Yeah.
the same way that I feel here. People here might seem a bit colder. Like if you want to sit down next to them on the bus, for example, they're not going to talk to you. They're going to be a bit freaked out. But once you break through the ice, they are really, really kind and very generous people, which I really
Okay.
appreciate.
Yeah, that's funny. That is funny. Norwegians have like a stereotype, which I think is somewhat true, that Norwegians can be hard to crack, hard to become friends, difficult to get deep with. But once you do, Norwegians are very loyal and very thoughtful. And once you're friends forever, whether you like it or not. Very loyal.
Point number 3 is cleaner spaces and less pollution, I guess. So
Okay.
because there is less people and more green space, there generally is just much less pollution than in the UK. In the UK,
Ah, cleaner spaces, less pollution. Well, yeah, there's definitely pollution and like trash on the ground. I think this is a much bigger problem in larger American cities. Like, for sure, there's trash everywhere. Yes, and pollution. Yeah, this is an interesting thought. I've never really thought of this, but this is definitely something. This is definitely an advantage Norway has, and it also goes back to being a smaller population. Norway is so unique. I swear, with like it has just the perfect recipe to be this fantastic country. Beautiful geography, small population, and like somehow that combination has just created like an amazing society, amazing opportunity. I swear. I just thinking about it like this, like even less pollution in Norway because there's less people, people care more about keeping their spaces clean and care about each other. Um, yeah, I've never really thought about that. That is very good.
Okay, if you live in the city, there'll always just be cars driving around and almost like a smog around the city, especially about around London. The air quality is much nicer. You know, there isn't so much sound, and the
Mm.
light pollution is also smaller, so you can, you know, see the sky better at night. And it's just, it
Uh-huh.
feels like a much healthier lifestyle. And I feel like in general, it's much easier to live a healthy lifestyle here. And I guess like a
Yeah.
bonus point from that for me is that the water here is so much better than in
Uh,
Norway, in Norway, in England. The water tastes.
the water? The water is better in Norway? Really? I've never thought about that either. Like the water quality is better in Norway?
So crisp. In England, it has this like almost fluoride taste to it. It tastes almost bitter,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
water here doesn't have that. And it's just so nice to drink. And I
Wow. Yeah, in a lot of parts of America, like I do not drink water out of the tap or the faucet. Like water from the sink. I don't even drink it because it tastes bad. It tastes very bad. I know it's safe. I know it's safe to drink here in America. Like we do clean our water, but we put chemicals in it and fluoride and stuff. And apparently Norway is not like that. I feel like that has nothing to do with population. That's just like Norway is tries to be more natural with the water and cleaner, and America has all this weird preservatives and chemicals in our water. Wow.
think this is like the best water that I've had in all of Europe.
Really?
And this is like something that you don't really think about and you don't really realize until you go somewhere where there's clean water
Yeah.
and you drink it, and then it almost just, you know, normal water at home never tastes the same to you.
That's yeah. I don't even drink like water from the faucet. Like I haven't even thought about doing that because it just doesn't taste good. A lot of us get water from like water bottles or you can buy water at the grocery store that is more pure and doesn't taste strange. Yeah, this is totally true actually.
So when I went back to England as well after my first holiday here, I just thought that the water was so bad. So yeah, that's a big bonus point, and it's almost like I feel the most important
Huh.
point and the most convincing thing for why you should stay in Norway.
Yeah, or a lot of people have special water filters at home. Like we put extra filters on our faucets so that the water is filtered again as it comes out. That's something a lot of people do as well.
Because of the water. Seriously.
The water.
Okay, so point number 4 is that there's less conveniences here. And this is a bit of a funny one
Huh.
because it almost feels like a con, actually, because, okay, so you don't have Amazon here. You have
What?
to pay tax.
What? What did she say? What? What? No Amazon? Excuse me? There's no Amazon in Norway? Is that true? There's no Amazon in Norway? Like the company, the shipping company, the website, Amazon.com, where you get stuff shipped to you really quickly? Is that not a thing in Norway? Is that true? Not at all? I know I mean, I'm just genuinely shocked. I did not know that. So that's what she means. There's not little conveniences in Norway. How is this a good thing? How do Norwegians survive without Amazon?
Pay taxes if you want to import things from outside Norway. And they're really high taxes. Eating out here is more expensive. Ordering takeout is way more expensive.
You have to pay taxes if you want to import stuff. So that's why there's no like Amazon internationally. Um, Eating out is more expensive. I'm curious where she's going with this. What is her point here?
And more difficult because in a lot of places they don't have takeout apart from, you know, in the major cities, but in the smaller areas around they might not have delivery services. On top of this, taxis are expensive, public transport might not be available or might take a really long time where you are.
Wow.
And postal services also take forever to, you know, post your things sometimes. There's
Okay.
less shops, selection in shops is smaller. So yeah, there's just a lot of things that aren't as convenient as back home in England.
Yeah. That's very interesting. It makes it maybe her point is that Americans, and she's talking about Great Britain, but this is the same in America. Maybe we're very like spoiled here. Very like coddled. Like we have too many nice things. So maybe we stop appreciating what's important or how to rely on not having those things. If those things were to go away, like we wouldn't even know how to survive without Amazon.
The thing is that I feel like this makes you more mindful and
Okay.
you stop having this consumerist mindset. You have to
Okay.
think more about the things that you want to buy. You aren't constantly kind of convinced to buy new things because, yeah, the consumerist culture is just much smaller here. And yeah, I do think this
Huh.
contributes to a healthy lifestyle and to a better work-life balance as well.
Interesting. Very interesting. This is a tough one. This is a tough one for me to wrap my mind around as an American. Because this is so true. In America, we love our conveniences. Amazon, quick mail, buying things internationally very quickly, going out to eat quickly, delivery, like food delivery, drive throughs, like all this convenient stuff. And it definitely does something to your brain living in a society like this. I never really think of it like that because I'm just kind of happy about these things. But I think she has a point because I'm trying to imagine life in Norway where you don't have all these things. It probably does force you to just calm down a bit, like appreciate things more, and like she said, have a less consumerist mindset, which might be like healthier for the brain. Like, I was reading something about when people stop looking at your phone for like a week, just a week without your cell phone, your brain starts to calm down and it's healthy. You don't realize how much you're looking at your cell phone and how stressful and stimulated we all are all the time. And I think this is kind of related to that. Norway has a little less, I don't know, like distractions. Maybe we just have too much stuff in America. We're just concerned about stuff a bit too much. Okay, okay. I can get on board with this.
For example, the shops are closed on Sunday, so you can't go shopping on the weekend as much, which yeah
Right.
just contributes
Huh.
to a better lifestyle in my opinion. Yeah, it just doesn't really feel
What?
like shopping is so much of a pastime here as it was back in the UK. For me, that was a
Wow.
really big point because I felt like I suddenly had to become more mindful of, if I need something, I need to think about it ahead of time. And for
Yeah.
food, I need to plan my meals and I need to cook more often now. I feel, to be honest, like that really is the big one is the takeout. If you
Wow.
want to live in Norway, you're probably gonna have to learn how to cook if you like to live on takeouts because
Wow. This is a huge difference. This is a big one. I think a lot of Americans would really, really struggle to live in Norway without all these conveniences that we have in America. I think we take it for granted. Our shops are open all the time. Food can be delivered to you basically anytime. You can have groceries delivered to you like all the time. Like there's a lot of things that are just automatic now that we don't even think of anymore.
unless you want to spend all your money, you're going to have to cook your own food because it's
Mm,
super expensive to order takeout here. So yeah, but I do feel like that contributes to a healthier lifestyle as well because then you're cooking for yourself and you're
right.
eating better. So
Right,
yeah, it's
right.
a positive thing in my opinion.
Yeah.
You do
Yeah.
need to give it some
Okay.
time, and then I feel like you warm up to it. So this
Wow.
kind of leads me on to point number
Huh.
5. Point number 5 is higher quality of products. Basically, because you can't import
Oh.
things from Europe.
What is it? This is importing food from Europe is very expensive. So Norwegians don't really import stuff from Europe or other parts of the world. Is most of the food and drink in Norway made in Norway, actually. That's very different because I know America imports so much stuff. We import so much stuff from all over the world all the time.
And Norway generally doesn't import as much from Europe. A lot
Huh.
of the products here, especially the food and a lot of the fashion, is kind of local to Scandinavia. It's locally made.
Cool.
And this means higher quality and
Right.
more awareness around where the products come from. It almost feels like much more comfortable to buy things here because you know where it all came from.
Right, right. In order to ship food and stuff overseas and internationally, you probably have to put a lot of preservatives and stuff to mail food and goods. So Norway makes most of its food locally, which is amazing because then you know the people who are making it. And don't even get me started on the preservatives and chemicals that are in American food. Our food is some of the most processed food in the world, some of the most artificial food. I know that. But as an American, I have no choice but to eat it. And you actually get used to it. And healthy food tastes strange to us, I've heard. So this is a really, really great thing about Norway. Unfortunately, it's difficult for Americans to get away from the bad processed food that is everywhere here. Where it seems like Norway focuses on like healthy, natural, local food. I didn't realize how important that was.
And I think I've read somewhere that Norway, I think, has like the best food standards out of all of Europe. So I will check
Wow.
that, because I'm not 100% sure.
Wow. So Norway might have some of the best food standards.
And of course, this, isn't 100% perfect because nothing in life really is, but it is really, really good. It is much better, I find, the fact that it's a little bit more self-sustained. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
food wise. And I guess that sums up my video. So yeah,
Okay.
those were my 5 points about things that I love in Norway.
Wow. Okay. And there you have it. That was fascinating. That was so good. This video was by Alex Rose, and I gotta give this a like because I liked that a lot. Interestingly, this video taught me a lot about things people really love about Norway, but this video also really showed me some of the things that are wrong here in America, and that Norway is like doing much better, like correctly in a way. So I totally get this was fascinating hearing from her point of view because I can relate to it a lot. America is a lot like Great Britain. I mean, what did we learn here today? Like that Norwegians are more connected to nature, probably less stressed. The Norwegian population is smaller, so it's more of a community kind of feel. People volunteer to clean up and actually care about the community and volunteering. And Norway doesn't have some of the luxuries that we have come to expect here in America, like Amazon and shipping and drive through fast food and stores that are always open. And so interesting. And Norway probably has a lot healthier food and clothing. Really, really, really interesting stuff. I totally agree with these things that she talked about. These are definitely reasons to love living in Norway. Really fascinating stuff that I think America could really learn from, honestly. So I enjoyed this quite a bit. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of these things or anything else you think that are great things to love about Norway. That'd be very fun to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and Norwegian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.